That's in our folio. Thank you, Laurie, and also thank you for this wonderful reunion we're having here. It's hard to call it a convention when you see so many wonderful faces and beautiful people and old friends. Last month I was at a piano teachers convention in Albuquerque, and as I was standing at our booth, I could see kind of across the room Joe Keith. And I know Joe for a long time. We were old friends. I had dinner in his home many years ago, but we kind of lost touch, and I felt a little bad about that. And so I looked for a time when he wasn't busy and walked over to catch up. So I said, Joe, got a minute? Can I sit down? He said, yes. And we started talking. And it's the third day of a convention. And you should never have a serious talk with anyone on the third day of the convention. We're just not responsible for what we say. At any rate, one thing led to another, and Joe commented that the last 2 years have been hard. And it was, he just worked so hard for so long. The future was undetermined, unknown, risky. And I said, you know, we've all faced that. We're all facing it now. I can't say where I'm going to be in a year. You never know how long this recession is going to go on. And we almost said we loved each other. He had tears in his eyes. I had tears in my eyes. To comfort him, I didn't know what to say, so I put my hand on his knee. Joe put his hand on top of my hand. I don't want you to get the wrong impression about this. But it got me to think something, and I said, Joe, do you think you can arrange I can get up and say a few words at this meeting? And he said he would see what he could do. And so I didn't exactly know what I was going to say at the time, but as I'm here over these few days, I got impressions from certain people that they too were kind of suffering, and it's one thing being here, but we go home and we're in tough times. One of the first conventions I attended when I got started, I think it was in the early 1960s, there was a convention in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Grace Nash was doing a workshop. We published some of her books, and I was standing on line for lunch. And someone behind me said to someone else, did you hear? They're cutting the school budgets, the music school budgets. I actually didn't know what that meant as it affected me. It just didn't sound good. And I'm telling you that every year since, I've heard the same thing. They're cutting the school budgets, the music school budgets. If it's not one state, it's another state. And I've gotten immune to it. But now, they're not cutting the budget, they're eliminating the budget. And so, this is a little more serious. And yet, we're still here. We lived through a recession, the worst since the 30s, 80 years. Of the worst recession in 80 years, can't compare to the Great Depression. Unemployment is almost 10%. But we know it's really higher, maybe 14, 15, 16% people give up, and they're not counted. And yet we're still here. We have technology coming along, the internet. Some of us benefit from it, some of us lose from it. It's a mixed bag. We don't know what it is or how it affects us. We're worried that it's not good. Jim Strauss once said, and I love the remark, whenever there's a change, I always feel it's bad for me. And you know, nowadays you can feel that way. And yet with all the problems technology may create, we're still here. And we're always going to be here. And you're always going to be here because this country needs you. Without you, music suffers substantially. Let me tell you a little story about something that I read last week. I got an email from an author who said that the teacher wrote him, one of our students, who was 8 years old, had leukemia, and she was a transfer student and was playing a piece, Lady Allison's Minuet. And she loved that piece. And as she got weaker from the chemo, she could only play a few minutes a day. And yet every day she would play that piece. She continued to take lessons, but it was more talking than playing. About a year later, she fully recovered and was cancer-free. And there was a talent program at a hospital in Maine that had only children who were suffering from cancer or who were now free of cancer. And Megan, the student, went up there and performed, of course, her favorite piece, Lady Allison's Minuet. The teacher wrote at the bottom, I don't know if this cured her or helped cure her. Probably not, but it certainly didn't hurt. And Megan was very, very happy to have been able to perform this piece. And that wouldn't have happened if there wasn't a workshop in a Vermont store that a piano teacher attended and heard Robert Vandal give a talk and took this piece and gave it to Megan. You can do such special things that no one else can do. You're irreplaceable. You have to be doing what you're doing. And though we're all facing tough times, nobody has escaped this. We're all suffering to a certain extent. But I feel for the dealers, because publishers can get along. The dealers slowly begin dropping out. When a dealer drops out, a whole community suffers. My lawyer once told me that our industry is so small, we operate under the radar screen. Nobody knows we exist. If we took our whole industry and combined, we would be too small to be a division of General Electric. And yet, you are all a very special group of brothers and sisters who love music, who persuade others to learn to play music, to make music a really part of our culture. Without you, that wouldn't exist. If we were all out of business for a few years, music, the learning of music would probably not exist anymore. So you got to keep on doing what you're doing. I think the worst is over. September is coming. I just want to say, for Iris and for my dear son Ron, what a privilege it is and what an honor it is to be counted as one of you. We're going to give out more awards in a few minutes, and it was up to me. I'd give every one of you an award. Thank you very much.